Do you know what goes on in the mind of someone on the verge of suicide? Well, many of us don't. Maybe that's why it's easier for us to speak rather than listen. It's so easy for us to voice out our opinions nowadays because of our freedom of speech that we tend to forget that just because we have the freedom of speech, it doesn't mean we have the right to be disrespectful, right? So if you're one of those people who actually say things, who comment things, or even think of these comments like, sayang, hindi siya makakapunta sa langit. Hindi kasi siya nagsisimba, kulang siya sa dasal. Mahina ang loob niya, duwag siya, hindi niya kaya yung mga problema niya. Ang selfish naman niya, hindi niya man lang inisip yung mga taong iniwanan niya. If you're one of these people, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the gravity of despair pulling silently at every reason to stay? Have you ever felt that? We often talk about suicide as if it only belongs to the ones who left, but the truth is, it belongs to all of us, to the ones who judge, to the ones who miss the signals, to the ones who keep silent because they don't know how to speak up. And disclaimer lang po ha, this isn't about anyone who died by suicide or anyone who lost someone by it. This isn't about one person, one case, or one tragedy. This is about everyone who has ever misunderstood suicide. Because until now, awareness is still not enough, not when stigma speaks louder than compassion. And that is what we are going to delve deep in this conversation. Have you ever wondered what it's like when the mind turns against itself? Hi, I'm Joe, and with my background in psychology, I invite you to explore what lies beneath the surface. This is The Hidden Side of Us, where science meets story and the unseen becomes understood. Some topics may be heavy or triggering. If you feel overwhelmed, pause and care for yourself or call the National Center for Mental Health at 1553. Ano nga ba ang tumatakbo sa isipan ng mga taong naiisip na wakasan ang kanilang buhay? Number one, the brain feels trapped. Ito yung pakiramdam na there are no more choices left. That all the possible solutions, talking to someone, resting, trying again, they all seem impossible or useless. It's not that they don't see any options, it's that their brain is so overwhelmed by pain that it cannot believe things will ever get better. Parang nasa dark tunnel sila, pero unlike the usual dark tunnels, yung dark tunnels na kung nasaan sila, walang hangganan. Yung sakit, yung hirap, yung dilim. And that leads us to the second one. The pain feels endless. Emotional pain, like guilt, shame, rejection, loneliness, failure, lahat. They start to manifest physically. Nararamdaman na rin siya physically. It's almost like their chest is being crushed. They may think things like, hindi na nila kaya, na hindi na magbabago yung sitwasyon nila, hindi na magiging okay, and everyone would be better off without them. Now, in that moment, no matter how smart the person is, no matter how seemingly successful the person is, pain drowns out logic. And even if they've survived hard times before, hindi na nila maalala kung paano sila nakasurvive sa ganung sitwasyon before. This is actually supported by the concept of psychache by Schneidman. Itong psychache na to is actually a term that Schneidman used to describe unbearable psychological pain. It's the invisible suffering. Kasi, according to him, suicide is not about wanting death itself. It's about wanting the pain to stop. Ito, nag-uugat ito sa unmet human needs like love, acceptance, belongingness, or meaning. That when someone believes there's no other way out of that unbearable pain, death starts to feel relief, not choice. So, hindi po ito klase ng kahinaan ng isang tao. It's the mind collapsing under too much pain for too long. It's like when you got diagnosed with cancer and then ilang years kang nag-undergo ng treatment and then gumaling ka. And then after maybe a year, decades, biglang bumalik. Tapos, meron yung urge sa'yo na susuko ka na lang kasi ayaw mo ng pagdaanan yung treatment na napagdaanan mo before, yung hirap, yung nakakalbo ka. So, parang ganito rin 'to. At dito na papasok yung hopelessness. Yung hope nawawala. They stop imagining a future. And take note, it's not that they don't want a future, it's that they can't see one. And their brain, under extreme emotional stress, begins to shut down the parts that are responsible for logic, problem solving, and emotion regulation. Ang resulta? Tunnel vision. Itong tunnel vision na to, yung term na ginagamit kapag ang isang tao ay hindi na ma-access yung memories nila ng pag-survive dun sa napagdaanan nilang hirap before, or hindi na nila ma-imagine yung feeling na magiging okay sila bukas or someday. This is why suicide isn't about a decision. It's more like the brain short-circuiting due to unbearable pain. Temporary yung state na ganito, but it's a terrifying state. Isa na rin sa rason kung bakit naiisip ng isang tao na wakasan ang sarili nilang buhay ay ang feeling nila pabigat sila. Many people thinking about suicide feel like they're a problem to others, like their existence adds to the pain to everyone else's life. So, they might think na makaka-move on din naman yung mga kaibigan ko yung pamilya ko. Mas magiging okay yung sitwasyon nila kasi mababawasan sila ng pasanin. Pero I have to emphasize that if ever you're feeling this way, if ever you're thinking about these thoughts, please know that these thoughts are just distortions, cognitive distortions. This is not your reality. This is just created by your emotional suffering that twists your self-worth into guilt. This is supported actually by the interpersonal theory of suicide ni Joyner. Sinabi ni Joyner na ang suicide daw ay madalas nangyayari kapag nagsama-sama ang tatlong masalimuot or painful na forces. Number 1, ito yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, perceived burdensomeness, yung feeling na pabigat ka sa mundo. Number 2, thwarted belongingness. It's the feeling of disconnection. You feel unseen, yung walang kahit sino man ang nakakaintindi sa'yo, walang sino man ang may kailangan sa'yo, parang wala kang silbi sa mundo. And the last one, the acquired capability for suicide. When you're so used to pain, to fear, that there comes the gradual loss of fear of death. Now, together, these beliefs form a dangerous illusion that the world would be better off without you. But please, it's not your truth. It's just the voice of your pain, acting like logic, pretending to be logic. At ang panglima, at huli, the mind becomes split between life and death. Even at their lowest, many people don't actually want to die. Part of them still want to live if the pain could stop. This is the heart of suicide. It's an inner battle between two powerful forces. The wish for relief, that's death. And the wish for life, that's life. Dito na ngayon papasok yung konsepto ni Dr. Carl Menninger na ambivalence. Itong ambivalence na to is a term that explains why so many people in crisis seem both decided and undecided at once. Why they might prepare for death but still send subtle cries for help. Kaya nga ang suicide kadalasan may warning signs. Isa lang ang ibig sabihin nitong ambivalence. It means there's still a chance for survival. So even the smallest gesture of compassion or empathy, connection, can actually reignite that will to live. Let's move on to the misconceptions of suicide. Ano nga ba yung mga maling pananaw ng mga tao sa suicide? What are the myths of suicide? At itatama natin ito ngayon. Maraming taong nagsasabi that people who talk about suicide just want attention. Hindi po yun totoo. Talking about suicide is actually a cry for help and a chance for intervention. Kaya hindi po natin dapat ito pinagsasawalang bahala kapag may nag-open up sa atin tungkol sa internal battles nila. Next, yung sinasabi nilang Suicide happens without warning. There are warning signs more often than not. Emotional man yan, verbal, behavioral, that can be recognized and we can use to help them. Also, yung mga nagsasabi na that only people with mental illness die by suicide. That's not true. Mental illness is a risk factor, that's true, but it's not the only cause. It can be social, cultural, and situational factors. These all matter. Next, yung kapag daw nagtatanong tayo if they're suicidal, it might give them the idea that's not true. Evidence shows that asking directly can reduce suicidal thoughts. At magagamit natin tong mga reality check na to sa kung paano natin matutulungan yung mga taong suicidal. Bakit nga ba nagkakaroon ng suicidal thoughts ang isang tao? Suicide is never caused by one thing. It's usually a mix of contributing factors, many influences. Unahin na natin dito ang biological. Sometimes, sabi nila, the brain's chemicals like serotonin are out of balance. Pero, kailangan nating questionin yung matagal nang alam ng mga tao na kapag mababa ang serotonin mo, mas mataas ang chance na mag-suicide ka or maging depressed ka. Kasi for a long time, ganyan yung sinasabi ng mga eksperto, scientists, mental health practitioners, psychiatrists, but recent research shows it's not as simple as that. Pero paano? Ano ba ang serotonin? Ano ang nagagawa nito sa ating pag-iisip, sa ating behavior, sa utak ng tao? Meron tayong tinatawag na brain cells. Gaya lang din sex cells. At ang tawag sa brain cells na yan ay neurons. And itong neurons na to, ito yung mga maliliit na parang messengers sa utak natin na nagpapasahan ng notes, ng messages sa isa't isa. And itong mga to, they don't usually touch each other. Hindi silang nagdidikit. Kapag nagpapasahan sila ng notes, hindi sila magkatabing nakaupo. Merong konting gaps sa pagitan nila. And ang gaps na to ay tinatawag nating synapse. And ang synapse na yun ay pinapalooban ng parang bubble na tinatawag nating vesicles. And dun ngayon pumapasok yung neurotransmitters. Itong neurotransmitters na to ay ang term na ginagamit sa messages na pinagpapasapasahan ng neurons. Magkakaiba-iba ang mga neurotransmitter sa ating utak. Serotonin is actually one of the brain chemicals that is responsible for impulse control and, very important, mood stabilization. Kapag mababa raw nito, sobrang baba raw ng mood mo, lagi kang malungkot, and then yung impulsivity mo mas mataas kapag mababa raw ang serotonin mo. Pero, nadadebunk na yan ngayon ng recent researches. Kasi scientists are finding that it's not just how much serotonin you have. It's not the low levels, it's not the high levels. It's about how your brain uses it. It's how it interacts with other systems, and very important din yung life experiences mo that shape your biology. So instead of thinking low serotonin equals suicide, it's more like serotonin may be one of many biological clues, and we still need to look at the bigger picture. Pero, we can't deny the fact that these imbalances can affect mood, but it's not a simple if-then situation or cause-effect situation. And sinasabi rin na suicide risk can also run in families. So, yung pagiging depressed ng isang tao, pwedeng genetics siya. Pero hindi lang po kasi yun yung tanging rason kaya nagkakaroon ng suicidal ideation ng isang tao. Pwede rin ang psychological, mental health issues, like depression, anxiety, trauma, or low self-worth. Pero again, it can't be said that this is the only cause of suicide. Kasi it's not. Pwede rin ang perfectionism, yung pagsaset ng impossible standards ng isang tao sa buhay nila, tapos nafe-feel nila na isa silang failure kapag hindi nila nami-meet yung standard na yun. Pwede rin ang self-criticism. This is really hard na matanggal sa sistema natin, yung self-criticism. When you're so used or when you grew up as your number one basher, as your number one critic, that you constantly blame yourself or you feel like you're never enough, mahirap ito, and it can also lead to suicidal ideations. Dumako naman tayo sa social. Laging tong nababanggit, loneliness, lack of connection, yun yung thwarted belongingness, bullying. Very important to emphasize. Bullying, rejection, discrimination like sa LGBT community, feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved in the society. And isa sa pinaka-importante that I really, really want to emphasize, unemployment or financial stress. Kasi for example, isang tatay sa isang community nila, mas mura pa or libre ang mental health care. May access talaga, free access of mental health care. And yung ratio ng mental health practitioners to patients or clients ay saktong-sakto. Enough. There is enough access to mental health care. So, nakakapagpa-therapy siya. But at the end of the day, after the session, what's next? Uuwi siya, wala pa rin siyang ipapakain sa pamilya niya. Wala pa rin siyang panggatas ng anak niya. And it's always gonna be a cycle. And when this happens, therapy, mental health care is never gonna be enough. And that's the truth. Gaya ng sa theory ni Maslow na hierarchy of needs. Before you can satisfy your succeeding needs, you have to satisfy your physiological needs first. That's why yung unemployment or financial stress, it's really crucial na ma-solve bago maging successful yung mental health care na natatanggap ng isang tao. Ganun din vice versa. Kahit na ang dami mong pera, if you don't have access to mental health, it's never gonna be enough. Also, cultural or religious contributing factors. In some cultures kasi, talking about suicide is taboo. Even death itself, talking about death itself, people feel shame instead of seeking help because of this. We also have strict beliefs, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas, that can make someone fear judgment instead of finding support. According to the World Health Organization, in every 40 seconds, someone dies by suicide. But did you know that every single one of these deaths are preventable? Ang tanong ngayon, paano nga ba natin matutulungan yung mga taong nag-iisip na wakasan ang sarili nilang buhay? Una dito, dapat alam natin kung ano yung warning signs. Ano nga ba ang warning signs ng suicide? Una, verbal clues. Simple lang. Yung mga nagsasabi mismo na gusto na nilang mawala, maglaho. I wish I could disappear. Sana matapos na to lahat. Mas okay yung magiging sitwasyon ng pamilya ko, ng mga tao sa paligid ko kung wala na ako. Hindi ko na to kaya. Yung mga ganon, na dapat hindi natin pinagsasawalang bahala. Dapat sineseryoso natin, pinapakinggan natin yung mga ganong salita na binibitawan ng isang tao. Pangalawa, behavioral clues. So, ito yung mga pagbabago sa behavior ng isang tao. Example nito, una, giving away possessions. Yung favorite niya yung jacket niya na yun. Or mahal niya yung camera niya. Ilang years na yun sa kanya. Pero one day, bigla niyang pinamigay. Magduda na po tayo kapag may ganong scenario. Dahil, ibig lang sabihin nun, maaaring nakapag-decide na sila sa plano nila. Number 2, withdrawing from loved ones. Social butterfly siya dati. Mahilig siyang pumarty, masayahin siyang tao. Pero for some reason, bigla na lang siyang nagkukulong na lang sa kwarto, tahimik na lang, hindi na masyadong nagsasaya. Dapat din po, alamin natin yung mga ganitong pagbabago sa behaviors. Next, reckless or risky behavior. Ito yung mga taong hindi naman usually umiinom, hindi naman sila naninigarilyo, pero bigla na lang silang umiinom, and then may muntik na madisgrasya, nag-drive sila habang nakainom. Ito yung tinatawag nating reckless or risky behavior. Pwede rin yung After a long time of deep sadness, biglang may calmness mangyayari sa kanila, or biglang naging parang okay sila bigla. Like, for example, ilang weeks siyang nagkukulong sa kwarto, ilang weeks siyang malungkot, tapos bigla na lang sobrang kalmado niya. Sobrang saya niya na parang walang nangyari. Bigla siyang nagayang mag-party buong gabi. Then the next day, yun na. And sana maagapan natin yung mga ganito. Meron din tayong tinatawag na emotional or contextual clues. Yung lagi nating nababanggit na prolonged hopelessness or guilt, major life losses, wag po nating ismulin yung mga taong nawawalan ng mahal sa buhay. Be it through death, be it through breakup, be it through job loss, lahat ng yun ay masasakit na pangyayari sa buhay ng isang tao na hindi dapat natin minamaliit. Madalas na minamaliit ng mga tao yung heartbreak na nararamdaman ng isang tao kapag naghiwalay sila ng, kunwari, sobrang minahal niya na ex niya or ex-husband niya. Tapos, na-break ka lang, para ka nang mawawalan ng hininga. And hindi po natin dapat yung sinasabi sa kahit sino dahil wala po tayo sa posisyon nila. So, break up can actually be an emotional or contextual clue for suicide. Next, also, ito rin yung very important to emphasize, yung recent trauma ng isang tao or humiliation, like mga nabully, cyberbullying. After we get to know the warning signs of suicide, what can we actually do to help them further? First, start the conversation. Ask them directly and calmly, are you thinking about ending your life? Bahala na po tayo kung paano natin i-approach kasi mas kilala natin sila. So, simple yung idea, asking, communicating, starting the conversation. And then after that, dalawa lang yan eh. It's either they will dodge the topic or they will open up to you. And if they do open up to you, listen without judgment. Now, why did I say listen without judgment and not respond without judgment? Madalas, kapag may mga taong nagtatanong tungkol sa kung paano sila makatutulong sa mga taong suicidal, it's always questions like, what should I say? How can I respond? What advice can I give? And never about how can I listen? So, and it's sad because it's more important sa mga ganitong sitwasyon to listen and not offer your advice. Kasi worst case scenario, if ever nagbigay ka ng advice without them asking for it, tapos sinunod nila because they trust you, they trust your judgment, and then hindi naging maganda yung kinalabasan ng advice mo, the situation will get worse. They will feel even worse. So instead of overthinking about what response you should give or advice you should provide, you have to think first if you are equipped to actually listen without judgment. Now, if sa kanila na mismo nang galing na hinihingi nila yung insight mo about what they're going through, then it's probably good na meron kang maibibigay, but be sensitive about it. Dapat isipin natin yung mararamdaman ng kinakausap natin na nag-open up sa atin ang problema nila bago tayo magsalita or mag-share ng insights natin. After you listen, what's next? Validate their feelings. So it goes like this. Oh, it sounds like you're really hurting right now. Or something like, it sounds like you're going through a lot right now. Be careful din with generic uplifting messages like, naiintindihan kita. Kasi more often than not, we don't. And yung pwedeng maging train of thought ng mga taong sinabihan natin ng generic uplifting message na naiintindihan kita is like, oh, naiintindihan niya ako. Naiintindihan niya yung pinagdadaanan ko. Pero why am I still feeling awful? Why am I still feeling like I'm a failure? Eh siya, okay naman siya. Ibig sabihin, I'm really weak. Ibig sabihin, may mali talaga sa akin. So, pwedeng ganun yung maging train of thought ng mga taong sinasabihan natin ng generic uplifting messages. And ito rin yung isa sa pinaka-importante na wag natin gawin. Do not ever compare your past struggles to their struggles right now. Alam mo, yung pinagdadaanan mo ngayon, walang-wala sa pinagdaanan ko dati. Or something like, yan lang pala eh. Ganito lang yan. Ganyan lang pala yung pinagdadaanan mo eh. Ako nga ganito eh, ikaw ganyan lang. So, start the conversation, but make sure you converse with them with sensitivity. Next one, after you start the conversation, you should ensure their safety. Stay with them. Remove access to lethal means if possible. Lahat ng cases ng suicide, nangyayari dahil meron silang means to do it. Malapit sila sa isang bagay na pwede nilang magamit. So, as much as possible, ilayo natin sila sa mga bagay na yun. And then after that, we should encourage professional help. Kasi hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon, nandun tayo para damayan sila. And it's better na mag-seek sila ng professional help because there are some responses na professionals na ang nakakapagbigay. I know it's hard na i-convince yung ibang tao kasi madalas yung response nila, baka mamaya isipin nila, baliw ako. And take note, hindi nga dapat natin ginagamit yung term na yun eh. Kasi it's really degrading for the people who really suffer mentally. Hindi naman po kabawasan ng pagkatao natin kapag nag-seek tayo ng mental health care. It's like when we have flu. It's like when we have cancer. Kailangan magkapag-konsulta tayo sa doctors. And then after that, follow through, follow up, check in regularly. Continue to be present even after the crisis seems over. Kasi hindi mo alam kung kailan babalik yung ganong thoughts nila. And I know na may kanya-kanya tayong buhay, pero when we're free, we can check on them. And kaya nga importante na we offer them resources like crisis helplines because through this, kahit wala tayo sa tabi nila, meron silang makakausap, meron silang mapaglalabasan ng mga sakit na nararamdaman nila. Ano naman ngayon yung pwede nating maitulong sa mga taong nawalan ng dahil sa suicide? So how about the people who are left behind? There is a complex grief unique to suicide loss. Kasi halo-halo yung magiging emotions ng tao eh. Nandyan yung guilt, what ifs. What if hindi ko siya iniwan? What if hindi ko siya pinabayaang mag-isa? And then there's anger. Bakit niya kami iniwan? May mga anak kami. May mga magka-college na. And then there's confusion. How did it happen? I still can't understand kung paano niya nagawa yun. Mukhang okay naman siya. And then there's shame. Ano na lang ang sasabihin ng mga kapitbahay? Na pinabayaan ko siya? And many other negative thoughts. So it's really important that they have postvention. Itong postvention na to is the support after suicide loss. Itong postvention na to, nakatutulong siya para maiwasan ang suicide contagion na tinatawag. Ito yung phenomenon wherein an exposure to suicide increases the risk of others attempting it. It's not that they copy the suicide. It's not that. It means that the emotional impact of the suicide that just happened can trigger or worsen their own struggles. So ano ngayon yung pwede nating maitulong kahit hindi tayo mental health professionals sa mga taong nawalan ng mahal sa buhay ng dahil sa suicide? Simple lang. We should learn also to listen. Don't blame. Be patient. Makinig, wag manisi, maging pasensyoso. So, if we integrate those three to communicating to them, then we have been a big help for their recovery. Kahit na ang tingin natin maliit na bagay na yun, malaking bagay na po yun. We should always remember that healing comes from remembering, not blaming. So kapag kausap natin sila, mas okay if balikan natin yung mga masasayang alaala na iniwan ng taong nawala kaysa sa paninisi. Ano naman ngayon ang role ng society and media dito? Responsible reporting. Kailangan hindi po tayo nagsisensationalize, na hindi po natin dinadetalye yung methods na ginamit para isakatuparan yung nangyari na, or gino-glorify yung konsepto ng suicide. Kasi it's not normal. Nakakalungkot kapag may napapanood akong mga content creator or series or movies na nagpapalabas ng irresponsableng pagsasadula or pagpapahayag ng tungkol sa suicide. It's like they forget that there are real people watching them. So sana maiwasan po natin to. Sana lahat tayo we promote hope and recovery stories. Kasi people also recover from these thoughts, from these situations, na sana hina-highlight natin yung mga taong na-overcome yung pagkawala ng mahal sa buhay ng dahil sa suicide, or even yung suicide survivors. And malaki ang papel dito ng policy ng gobyerno natin and education system natin. Kasi through this, nagkakaroon ng mental health access, ng anti-bullying programs, ng crisis training, at nababawasan yung stigma. At sana sa mga ganitong klase ng content mag-pave way sa mas pinaigting pang access sa mental health. If you're watching this and you're looking for the path toward healing and hope, just know that recovery is possible. Your suicidal thoughts can pass and life can regain its meaning. Ang healing kasi nagsisimula yan kapag inalaw natin yung ibang tao na mag-connecta sa atin. Kapag inalaw natin yung purpose na maging parte ng buhay natin, yung compassion to take root. And sana, yung community care, yung empathy, yung mental health literacy, hindi na maging luxury. Kasi marami tayong naririnig na ang mahal daw magpa-therapy, ang mahal daw magpagamot sa sakit sa isip at damdamin natin. Pero they shouldn't be luxuries because they're lifelines. Marahil nagtataka kayo kung ano nga ba ang ginagawa ko dito. Bakit ba ako nagpapalalim ng isang topic na very sensitive? Out of all topics, why did I choose suicide as my pilot episode topic dito sa personal branding na tinatatag ko? What do I know about this? What is it to me? Well, I guess it's safe to say that I know a thing or two about suicide, about mental health. Or maybe a lot. I know a lot because let's just say I was there. I've been there. I've been saved a lot of times by crisis helplines or suicide hotlines. So there were a lot of times I faced my own suicidal thoughts. But of course, I reached out for help to my friends, family, to the people who cared. But this I tell you, no one has ever helped me as much as a mental health professional had. But don't get me wrong, I'm beyond grateful for the good intentions of the people who I reached out to. But sometimes it's not kasi about intentions eh. It's also about execution of your intentions. It's not always about what you say. It's also about how you make people feel about what you say. Because even the kindest words, they can fall flat if they miss the depth of someone's pain. So our generic uplifting messages, they may have good intentions, but they cannot replace understanding. So to anyone who has sought help and didn't get the care that they truly needed, to anyone who felt unseen, unheard, or dismissed, please know this. It's not your fault. The right kind of help does exist. Proper mental health care is available from professionals who are trained to listen and to help you find your way back. You deserve that care. You deserve to heal. And to anyone who has the heart, who is willing to help people who are in need of help mentally and emotionally, kahit na hindi sila mental health professionals, you always have to remember these things. Learn the signs, speak up, listen without judgment, listen with your heart, be the reason someone chooses to stay. We often speak of suicide in statistics with judgment, but behind every number is a person carrying unimaginable weight. What we learn from this is that the weight of wanting to stay is often far greater than what we see. Because the truth is, many of us are just trying to stay afloat while the tides of despair sweep around us. So ang bottom line dito is that your one message, your one call, your one simple reaching out, you, one person, can save a life. Because when we shift from trying to fix broken people into being actually present to the people who hurt, to the people who suffer, we change the equation. We all have a role in this, actually, because we are all a part of each other's hidden sides. So if someone you know is tipping over the curve toward despair, maybe your simple reaching out is exactly the moment that tilts the balance the other way. So before we end this conversation, I would like to leave you a question. You can leave your answers to the comment box below. This is the question. If you found yourself carrying the weight of wanting to stay when you believed there was no way forward, what would you most want someone to say or do for you? We spend so much time fearing the broken parts of ourselves, but maybe they're just asking to be understood. This has been The Hidden Side of Us. I'm Joe, always here to remind you that even what hides in the dark is still a part of you.